This is J. Krishnamurti's sixth public discussion in Saanen, 1973.
What we have been discussing and talking over together for the last 3 weeks nearly, our intention has been to be serious. And if one isn't serious, you can't really go into these matters very deeply. And when you take notes, you can't pay attention. Taking notes and trying to listen at the same time, you can't do it. And also, I've been asking not to take photographs in the tent or outside the tent, but everybody goes on doing it. So please refrain. And also, don't have your private microphones. I don't know, you do all these things, I suppose. You don't really pay attention to what is being said, then you pay attention to what we are talking about. So we'll go on. We said we would talk about this morning, and a lovely morning it is, but the question of love and death, right? I think that's what we said we're going to talk about. I would like to talk about it, discuss it with you as two persons involved in a very serious matter, that both of us are really deeply interested in this question and find out the reality of it. Not the verbal statement, not as an intellectual idea, something that you spin out intellectually, but actually find out if these things can be lived in daily life. Otherwise, it has no value at all. So I'd like to talk about it, discuss with you in that way. I never considered love and death are two separate things. And for most of us, death is the ending of life, or the ending for a new beginning. And to find out for ourselves whether the mind can ever be free from this thing called death and incarnate each day anew. And that's what we're going to discuss, if we may, this morning. Perhaps you think it's a rather gloomy subject to discuss on a morning with plenty of shadows and sunshine and shining leaves and sparkling waters, clear blue sky. But I don't think that it matters because it's part of existence. It's part of our daily life. So, how shall we talk about it? What does death mean to you? Have you ever considered the question at all? Or merely postpone that dreadful event and carry on? Knowing all around you there is death. When you see all those, the victims of the recent wars in the Far East, whether the Americans have perpetuated or not, that's not the point. Because what the Americans have done, it is our responsibility. It's not America. It's our responsibility because we are contributing to war all the time, to destruction. In buying whatever one buys, you are contributing to war, the tax. Each nation is supporting war. Therefore, we are all responsible for it. And when you see all that appalling suffering, misery, destruction, destroying marvelous trees by a bomb, and a poor child not knowing what it is all about, crying on the roadside. When you look at all that, what is death? You must have considered it. You must have thought about it. What does death mean to you? Well, let's talk it over together. Share the problem. What does it mean to you? Come on. What? I can't hear, madam. To you, you have thought about it, and you say it's the ending. Perhaps a renewal of what? Madam, you must have thought. If you have not thought about it, gone into it, don't just speculate about it now. For most of us, does death mean the ending of life? Is that what we are frightened about? And what is our life, of which you are so frightened? What is our daily life, to which we cling to so enormously? Oh la la. Please, let's talk it out. Don't let me make a long speech. Cessation of desire. Does that mean death to you, sir? Sir, look, may I most ask you, have you thought about it at all? Have you inquired into it? Have you made research into this enormous problem which has confronted man from the beginning of time. And you are confronted with it. When you see a death in a coffin and going down the road, there is death. When you see a brutal film and a man is shot, and that is death. And all the deaths that have happened in the wars, you must have looked at it all. History is full of deaths. What does it mean to you? Come on. The losing of all the possessions that I have. Does that mean death to you, sir? My Lord. Come on, madam. Huh?
She says a passage to another region.
Oh, a passage to another region. What a lovely idea, isn't it? Lovely idea. Our life, the present living, is a passage to a better region. Hell and heaven. Oh, for the love of Pete. What does it mean to you, please? Not verbally. Have you gone into it? Have you thought about it? Or just avoided it? And when you are confronted, as you are now, what is your feeling about it? Not ideas, not some kind of theoretical conclusions.
Noi vediamo che la vita è, come dice lei, crudeltà e tutto questo, però tutto sommato, poiché non sappiamo dopo che cosa c'è, anche a queste cose che pur sono brutte, noi ci siamo attaccati. Questa è la morte dell'uomo. È l'ignoto che ci spaventa.
As you have pointed out, it is said in Italian, we cling to this life of great, some pleasures and great suffering, fears, anxieties and all the rest of it. And that's all we know. And we want to find something more. Bene? Così, più o meno, more or less. Look, please, consider it this morning. What does death mean to you? To you? What does not only the ending of the body, what does death mean to you? Don't you know what death means? I am so sorry you don't know what death means.
It is the last verse in my life.
So, you see somebody die, put in a coffin, lot of flowers, put in a hearse, and take it to the cemetery. You look at it. Have you ever looked at it? Have you ever observed it? What does it mean, that man dying in a coffin, a woman dying, don't you react to it? Don't you say, what does it all mean? What does living mean? And what does dying mean? Don't you ask that question?
One must, of course, when talking about death, one must also talk about life.
We are doing both, sir. We are doing both. You see that death, your friend, your son, my brother, my uncle, whatever it is, I see death, a friend dying. And what does it mean to me, to you, somebody dying? A man killed so brutally and uselessly in Vietnam. What for? And what is living? What is life? Don't you ask? All right, sir, let's begin. What does living mean to you? The actual living, the daily living, the office, the factory, the quarrels, the ambitions, the everlasting struggle in relationship, the brutality, the violence, the hopes, the distractions, the pleasures, fears, all that is living, earning a livelihood, isn't it? No? You agree to that? Huh? It's partly. What is the other part? So, we are dealing with what actually is going on. The intellectual reasoning, the technology, the great immense progress science has made, medicine, anthropology, and my daily living, sorrow, endless conflict, with occasional joy and pleasure, vast memories, remembrance of things that are gone. All that's my life, isn't it, sir? All that can be said is one always live in the field of the known, right? In the field of the past. That's our life, isn't it? Not only part, put everything in that area. Your ambitions, your frustrations, your desire to be identified with something, your struggle, your conflict, having no love, wanting to be loved, loneliness, the expression of your technological knowledge, whether you can do it better, your relationship with your wife, husband, girl, whatever it is. The immense fears, the things that are hidden, which you read about in books and try to identify from the book what is happening to yourself. Oh, isn't that all your life? No? Oh, God. What? Go out of time? I can't hear, madam.
She says life is time, death is going out of time.
Life is time and death perhaps is going out of time. I don't know, that's your idea. We're going to find out, madam. Moment you say perhaps, life is time and death is going beyond time. It's good as saying grass is green. We don't, you follow? Let us begin, please. How we try to avoid facing facts. Your life and the life of human beings throughout the world is a constant struggle to earn a livelihood, to stay alive, disease, pain, trying to be moral, trying to behave properly, and rejecting behavior and trying to do something totally different. Worship this God or that God, or be an atheist, or be a communist. That's all our life, isn't it? The whole field of it. And we cling to that, don't we? No? Because that's the only thing we know. Everything is a speculation, isn't it? So, mind avoids death because basically it doesn't know what is going to happen. Basically, radically, it says, I know the living, which is however troublesome, however painful, however pleasurable, however agonizing, destructive, that's all I know. And I hold on to that. I don't know the other. I can speculate, I can invent, I can rationalize, I can have marvelous beliefs about it. But the fact is, I cling to the no. No? My furniture, and I am the furniture. When I identify myself with that piece of furniture, when I say it's mine, I have identified myself with that furniture, and therefore the furniture is me. No? When I have identified myself with my house, that house is me, and so on. So, the mind is always seeking security, right? In relationship, in something permanent. Land is permanent. Real estate, having a house, having a piece of furniture, calling that person my wife or my husband, this sense of stability, security, the mind is always demanding. And that security is within the field of the known, right? Oh, come on. The known being knowledge, experience, memory. Are we together in all this? So one can say, by observing, that living is a great travail with occasional flashes of something else, and death is the unknown. And so there is a battle between the living, the known, and death, the unknown, right? Can we proceed, please? The ancient people, Egyptians and others, tried to carry over into the other world which they believed in all their pieces of furniture, ivory, beautiful masks, lovely jewelry and everything, slaves, paintings. The Asiatics, including India, said, there is a permanent entity as the me, the soul, that will, through righteous behavior in the present, improve itself in the future life. So they believed in reincarnation, next life. And by that they meant a better life, always a better life. And though they believed that, they said, what you sow you will reap in the next life. But all those were just words, because their behavior in daily life was just ordinary, brutal, envious, all that. So the belief didn't matter a hoot. What mattered was their enjoyment or their pleasures, what is in the field of the known. Now, when you observe all that, from the ancient of times to present day, those who believe in resurrection, those who believe in reincarnation, those who only worship the present, whatever that be, or worship the state, and so on, are always living in this life which is the known. Right? So let's begin with that. What is it that is known, to which we cling? You're following, sir? I cling to my life. Why? What for? What, sir?
I'm afraid of emptiness. Huh? That's why I think
I'm afraid of emptiness. Do you know what that means? Oh, that's just a lot of words. Are you clinging to that? You can't talk. Look, sir, why does the mind cling to the known and avoid that thing which is called death? The doctors, the medicine can keep the body going for another 50 years. Drug it when it's terribly painful, cancerous. And they can keep the body survive much longer with the agreement of the patient or with the agreement of the relatives. Now, why does the mind, your desire, everything, why does it cling to this?
I feel I enjoy my life.
What, sir?
I think I enjoy my life.
Now, I think I enjoy my life. Is that the only thing you have? You just enjoy your life and therefore you cling to it?
I see also there's pain.
So you realize there is pain, there is frustration, there is everything including enjoyment. So you cling to that, right? What makes the mind cling to something which is so transient? You follow, sir? I might have pleasure today, and out of that pleasure, pain comes tomorrow. And I know this enjoyment is so fleeting, gone, but yet I cling to it. Why? So, madam, why does the mind cling to something that is so transient, It is the only thing you have got. What have you got? You don't examine it even, you just state it. What is it you have got? Old age? All the trouble of old age? Disease? Pain?
It's the only thing you know, it's all you have.
I know that very well, sir. I'm asking why the mind, your mind, clings to something that you call the known, with all the bubbles, with all the pain, with all the fury inside that. Is it because the known gives it security? Huh? Kennedy said.
It gives it life.
So you call life this battle, this process. Is that it?
We do.
Yes, sir, I know we do.
Sembra una domanda impossibile.
No.
No, la domanda che lei fa è una domanda che al di fuori di queste risposte ovvie un po'
Look,
superficiali.
he says, your question is impossible to answer. Our friend the Italian says. Impossible question. No, sir. If in death you found something permanent, secure, you would love that too, wouldn't you? So the mind wants security. However fleeting, however painful, however destructive, violent, enjoyable, all that, in that there is some security, some sense of survival, some sense of knowing. The known gives to the mind a sense of safety. Right? That's obvious. No? And so the mind clings to it. Now, wait a minute. Can you know death in the same way as you know living, to which you cling? You understand?
That is the problem. Because we don't know that, we fear it.
Now, sir, just listen to what I have said before you ask that. I know what living is. I've lived it for 30, 40, 80 years. I know all the content of living. The beauty of the hills, the meadows, the movement of the leaves, the tranquil seas. I've known all that. Seen everything of it. I know it. I've felt it. I've lived it. I have suffered. I have been through all kinds of experiences, moods, pleasures, pain. I know it very well. So I cling to that. Can I also know, in the same way as I know this area, this thing called death? Can I know that too? Then, you follow? If I know both, then there is no problem. You understand what I'm talking? Have you understood what I've said, sir? No? Wait, I've said, listen, can I know, as I know living, what it means death? You understand my question? Don't say no. I know what living is. Right? We all know it. And can I also know this thing called death? I don't know. I'm going to find out. I have never said, I'll find out what living is. I've accepted it. You understand, sir? I've accepted it. With all the pain, with all the dirt, with all the squalor, with all the brutalities, fasting, starvation, everything. I know what all that means. Now, can I also know this enormous thing and mysterious thing called death? Can I know it? And by asking that question, I'm going to find out, right? I'm going to inquire. Are you following, sir? I'm going to inquire. Now, let's inquire. You understand, sir? I have really never inquired into living, into this whole process of existence. I have accepted it. I suffer in it. I have gone through hell with it. And can I also know this thing called death? Investigate it. Because I have never investigated living, only I have accepted it. And I have accepted death and never investigated it. You understand, sir? You see, I have a problem. I have not investigated living, what it really means. I have not investigated what death means. Right? So, we are going to investigate both. You understand? The living and the dying. Is all existence this? Listen to the echoes. Is all living this battle? Battle means pleasure, pain, all that. In inquiring, you understand? I say that's not living. That's a terrible state to be in. Right, sir? Oh, for God's sake, come with me. I've investigated, I've explored it. I said, why should I live? Why should human beings live this way? This is so totally wrong. And I'll find a way of living entirely different from that. My investigation into the living, into existence, has shown me the way that one lives, the way that one thinks has no meaning. And by investigating very, very deeply, I find out that there is a meaning entirely different. I find out for myself. I've gone into it. And I say death. I'm also inquiring into it. I must find out what it really means. Not be frightened, not put it away, not have explanation, say there is incarnation, there is nothing. I'm going to inquire, find out. Right, sir? Are you following what I'm saying? Oh, it's too hot to repeat all this.
Please take those children home. It is so bothering. We can't listen here. They're crying and they're walking around all the time. I'm very sorry, but please don't take them in. For God's sake. Yes. Let the children. You said before that in life there was much travail and a few flashes of something else.
What, sir?
You said in life there was much travail and a few flashes of something else. These few flashes of something else, are they life or death, or are they something else?
No, sir. I said few flashes of something else, which is joy, pleasure, enjoyment, delight, kindliness, generosity. I included all that. It's not something else outside. No, don't. Must everything be explained? Look, sir, let's proceed. As a human being, living in this world, one has investigated into what is so-called living. This living is a constant pleasure, pursuit of pleasure, avoiding pain, laborious work year after year, the responsibility of a family, sexual pleasures, the pain, the birth, the frustrations, the agony, the despairs, the repentance, the forgiveness, all that is what we call living. And I won't accept that as living. We human beings have accepted it. Go with it. But I say, this is not living. So I've investigated, I've gone into it, found in investigating, my mind has kept without any motive, therefore no direction, therefore it has found a meaning. Whatever that meaning, leave it for the moment. And I've been frightened of death. And all, because I've never inquired into it, gone into it, found out what it means. And I'm going to find out. And I've gone into it. You follow? Now my mind, this mind, has inquired into the living and what it means to die. So it says, both living and dying are the same. I say that, not you. Right? So let us inquire in both fields, the living field, the living area, and the dying area. You understand, sir, now? Don't let's go back and forth. Have you understood my question, please? Have you inquired deeply into the meaning of living? I know you have accepted living as pain and all that. Is that living? No, sir. Don't die to anything. Just watch it, sir. Inquire, find out. You've got a mind, you've got a tremendous experience, you've got all kinds of knowledge. Find out whether this is living. Going to the office. You understand, sir, this terrible thing man has made of life. That's not living. And you can find the meaning of living only when you discard totally the structure which man has put together. Man, woman, all that. Right? Oh, come on, so. So unless you find the meaning of living for you deeply, and therefore merely accept existence as it is, then you are incapable of inquiring into death. You follow what I'm saying? Because in the inquiry of living, you will find how to inquire into death. They are not two separate things.
Lei dà però per scontato il fatto che noi non accettiamo questa vita e invece purtroppo la situazione di molti di noi è che questa vita invece noi l'accettiamo e quindi forse da questo non nasce quella passione di inchiesta che lei ci chiede, forse.
Ma che vuole? So, look, he says we don't put passion into all this, into this inquiry, as you do. And therefore we play with it. And how do we get this passion?
Because
Yes, sir.
you have accepted the idea that we, come si dice, respingere.
Spingere, put away. Push away.
Put away this life.
No, I am not, sir, you're missing the whole thing. I am not putting...
But you say, for me, it's so.
No, no, sir. Look, listen, sir, please listen. Don't say what to do. Don't say I must reject. Don't say I must accept. The life that you lead, is that a living? Is that a way of an intelligent, sane human being? Is that the way to live? What do you say? Why don't you answer that? What? All right. If it is not living, what are you going to do about it? Sir, just don't... Do you accept this way of living? If you don't, what is the next step? Don't quote me, please. You want to find out another way of living. How do you find out? If this is not the way of living and you want to find another way of living, how do you find out? You can only find out by inquiring, don't you? Through inquiry, which means a mind that is capable of looking without any direction. That means without any motive. When you have a motive, it is directed and therefore distorted. Right, sir? So a mind that must inquire into the living and says, this is a terrible way to live. It's a meaningless life that one leads. To inquire into that, you must have a mind that says, I have no motive in my inquiry. Therefore, I am free to inquire. Right? Like a scientist, he looks through a microscope or whatever he does, and he doesn't come with a motive. He is only looking at what is taking place under the microscope, or whatever he does. So similarly, I have this problem. I will not accept this way of living under any circumstance. I don't want to live that way. Therefore, my mind says, how am I to inquire into this? Is there a different way of living? To find a different way of living and therefore a different meaning of existence, I must come to it with a mind that says, I'm not prejudiced, I'm not frightened. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to find out. That means a mind that's kept, has no fear what it's going to discover. Right? So, in the same way, the mind is to inquire into death. And if you're frightened, it can't inquire. Right? If you say, oh, I must survive, I must have next life to write a beastly little book or become a little better, it has no meaning. So my mind, please listen to this, to inquire into these two aspects of living, it must be capable of inquiring without a motive. It also must be capable of looking, inquiring, making deep and exploration. There must be no fear, right, sir? So that is the primary importance in inquiry. No motive and no fear. Right? May I go into this a little more? Don't accept a thing that the speaker is saying. He has no authority. He is not your guru. You are not his followers. Right? We are inquiring. The way we are living has no meaning. And I want to find out what is the meaning of living if there is a different way of living. I see there is a different way of living when there is no division in action, in thought, in the observer and the observed. You're following all this? When there is no division. I am not a Hindu or a Muslim or a Jew or an Arab. Right? I won't belong to any sect, any group, or commit myself to any action. Right? So what do? I live somehow. Living, earning money, having clothes and shelter, that becomes irrelevant. I'll somehow find it. I won't make that into the most primary thing. So I begin to inquire. I see the truth that where there is division in myself, in my action, in the division of tradition, of nationalities, governments, there must be conflict. That is an absolute truth. Right? As not as an idea in myself. Thinking one thing, doing another. That's a contradiction, division, therefore it will inevitably produce conflict. And that's our whole life. Different varieties, but that is the whole pattern. Now, so I say to myself, I inquire, why does this division exist? Is it artificial, inherited, traditional, reasonable, logical, or is it something God-given? I see it's none of that. Thought has created this. Thought has created this division, both outwardly and inwardly. So I say thought. Right? You're following all this? Please. Thought. Man has lived by thought. And thought has created it. Thought has put together all this terrible world with their priests, with their gods, with their social structures. It can't follow the whole thing. So I include all that, or the whole thing, of course. I mean, I may have a feeling. Unless I recognize that feeling, there's no feeling. I won't go into that for the moment.
But the nature also there is division.
Or?
The nature also there is division. Not only in our mind.
Come on.
Nella natura, anche nella natura c'è divisione.
Is there? I mean,
The animals are fighting together.
what?
The animals are fighting together. We wouldn't say that.
God. So, the tiger kills the deer. The tiger kills the deer. That is its way of living. The deer may object to it, but it's a natural way of living for the tiger. Right? So I don't, please watch this newer life, not tigers and nature. Look at it yourself. God's sake. So I see thought has bred this world, made the world what it is, and I am part of that world, and that world is me. And thought is responsible. So I am concerned now with the investigation of thought. I see thought is necessary. Otherwise I can't speak. Thought is necessary to drive a car. Thought is necessary to function in a factory or in a business. Thought is necessary in the employment of the knowledge which it has acquired. I see, in that area, thought is necessary. But I see thought is totally unnecessary in relationship with its image, with it. Therefore, is it possible to live with thought functioning in a certain area and thought not functioning in relationship? Because thought is not love. Right? Oh, come on, I must move. I see all that. So I've found something. I've found a deep meaning. I've found a way of living where thought functions normally, objectively, logically, sanely, and there is no psychological movement at all. The psychological movement as the me, which is put together by thought, by words, by experience, by knowledge. So the psychological entity is not. I see that is the way to live. I'm not telling you how to live. That is the way to live. For knowledge to function efficiently. And it cannot function efficiently when the psychological element is projected in the field of knowledge. And there will be a battle always as long as there is the me, the self. The self is put together by thought. The word, the remembrance, the attachment, all that are bases of thought. So I say, yes, I've discovered that. That is the way to live. And not as an idea, but as an actuality. Right? Not for you. If you live that way, if you have inquired, gone into it profoundly, then it's yours. Then we have relationship. Then it is real fun. Great delight to discuss, talk over the real thing. In the same way, I want to inquire, what is death? I don't know what it means. I know what people have said about it. My son has died, my wife, husband, boy, girl. I know that. I've shed tears, felt loneliness, the misery, the appalling sense of wastage of life. Right? So I'm going to find out what death means. Can my mind inquire into something that it doesn't know? You have understood? I don't know what death means. I have seen it. I've seen death touch every life, from the poorest to the most famous, from the most indulgent, stupid, superficial, to the man who thinks he's very deep. Death has touched everybody, everything, right? So I'm going to find out. My mind says, what is death? I've seen death. I've lived with it. I've watched it. I've seen my son, my brother, die with disease or killed by a bomb. I've lived in the same room. I know what it means for another to die, right? I'm not frightened. That's the fundamental thing in inquiry. Right? Are you coming with me? No, of course you can't. So I'm not frightened. And I have no fear. I have no beliefs. Whether the entity lives or doesn't live after dying. This is a tremendous. I'm going into it. The me, who is so afraid of death, the me is the known. The me is the known when it is attached to the furniture, to the house, to the family, to the name, to the country. The me is the known. And that me is frightened when it inquires into death because it says, I may come to an end. I don't mind my body coming to an end, but that inward sense of the me. And one has given lots of names to it, the soul, the Atman, and so on, so on, so on. All put together by thought. Right? So, the mind is not frightened because it has seen that there is nothing permanent. Right? Gentleman says, I see all this intellectually. I see it, but fear exists. That's it. I see it, but fear goes on. Therefore, what does that mean? You don't see it. Oh, obviously, sir. You don't say that. I see the precipice. You follow? And I will jump. You don't say when you see a danger, I see danger, go on with the danger, do you? Come on, sir. So, that's my, please, sir. Sir, may I say something to cover your point? When you hear a statement, you translate it into an idea, which everybody does, and then there is a division between the idea and what is. Right? Now, if you could listen without the formulation of an idea or a conclusion, then there is only the what is. You understand, sir? Can you listen without forming a conclusion? That is real active inquiry. So I see, mind sees the me is not permanent. It's just been put together by transient thought. The me is just a series of words, memories, which have no substance, reality. So so the mind now is not frightened, it's going to inquire what death means. What does death mean? Dying to the known? And if I don't die to the known, what happens? You understand, sir, my question? What happens when the mind doesn't die to the known? The known is the me, with all the nature and structure of the me, with all the misery, all that. If it doesn't die to that known, what happens? It goes on, doesn't it? Like a stream, please listen to this. Like a stream that's going on. In that stream, all human beings are caught. Right? Are you following this? But they never said there must be an ending of the known. They accept it. They can't entirely get out of it. They try to put one foot out of it, another foot in it, but they're all caught in that stream of so-called life, which continues because the mind has never pulled itself out of it. So, please listen to this. So when there are the seances, the mediums, when there are the manifestations of my husband, wife, children, all the rest of it, it is from that stream. Are you swallowing all this? You see what I am saying and you are so easily accepting? As long as you are caught and you are caught in that trap, in that stream, you may die, but that stream is the world and the world is you. And when you get in touch with your elder brother, when he's dead, it is there, from that stream. Therefore, a man who is free of that stream, he can never be caught by a medium. You understand? Yes, I think it out. Go into it, you will see the truth of it. Now, what does it mean to die? Because I've seen death. I know I will die. Disease, old age, and all the trouble of old age. All that. Dying. The organism misused for so many years through drugs, drink, indulgence, the misery of disease, pain, and ending up in being drugged, kept alive for a few years longer. What's happening? And that's what you call death. I say to myself, it's such an absurd way of dying. Right? I know the organism will die. Keep it as healthy as possible. All the rest of it. I know it's going to die. Is that what the mind is frightened about? What is it frightened about? Frightened about losing the identity with the furniture. Right? The furniture is the wife, the book, the photograph, the money, all that, which is the embodiment of furniture. Are you following all this? So the mind says, ask, what am I attached to the furniture for? You understand? So furniture including the whole of it. I'm using that one word to convey the whole of the urge to possess, attachment, domination, all that's included in that word, which is a very good word, furniture. I do not know if you have not friends who are terribly attached to a piece of wood, beautifully shaped, handed down from parent to parent, an old, antique. You are that. Or the beautiful car which you have just bought. So why does the mind identify itself with that? And therefore, being identified with that, that is the mind. Right? Is that what the mind is frightened about? Losing the furniture? Inquire, I inquire. Why does the mind desire identification with something? With my wife, with my girl, with my boy, with my house, with all the things that I've remembered, the pleasures, the pains. Why is the mind so identified with it? And therefore, the mind has become that. Why? And then don't throw up your hands. We're going to inquire, find out. Is it because it has to be occupied with something? You following? Occupied with the house, with sex, with knowledge. Doesn't matter what it is. It has got to be occupied. Because if it is not occupied, what takes place? You're following all this? I'm occupied with that furniture. I keep it polished. I look after it. It's mine. It is. Nobody must touch it. All the rest of it. It's occupied with that. You may be occupied with sex or with cooking or with God, with the state. They're all the same. Occupation of every kind is the same. There is no noble or ignoble occupation. We're just discussing occupation. Ignoble occupation may produce one result, and noble occupation may produce another result. We're not talking of the results. We're talking about why the mind needs to be occupied. You see, when it is occupied, it feels it's alive. It's moving, it's working. It has a sense of reality. Right? Well, I'm told. It's a dialogue, it's on my part with myself. And I say, why is it occupied? Because, he says, when I'm not occupied, what happens? Wait, you're saying the wrong thing. He says it doesn't exist anymore. You're saying the wrong thing. You haven't explored it. You've already come to a conclusion. Why is it occupied? I say, it sees it's occupied because if it's not occupied, what happens? You see the answer? Deteriorates. Because you are occupied, your mind is deteriorating. God's sake. You understand? There is nothing fresh in that occupation. Therefore, your minds, because they're occupied so everlastingly in life, it is deteriorating, becoming dull, soft, not active, vital.
Patient is the noun.
Huh?
Patient is the noun, pronunciation of the noun. Not occupation is still noun, unnoun of the mind.
Je n'ai pas compris. I don't quite understand, sir. Sir, I didn't say no occupation. I said to you, please listen, sir. He put it that way, and you're taking him up. I said it's wrong answer. I said the mind is occupied. I know that. I see every mind around me is occupied. Oh, I must be aware. I must think of God. I become a Catholic, I must begin from morning to night, do this, that, and the other thing. I am a Hindu, you follow? I'm a socialist, I am occupied, earning with livelihood and so on. Now, why is the mind occupied? What happens to the mind that's not occupied? Have you found that out? Huh? No. Have you found out for yourself what is a mind what happens to a mind that's not occupied? What? How do you know? Huh? You know it? It is empty when it is not occupied. All right. What's wrong with it? Huh? Oh, you people, haven't you just throw out words?
It invites intelligence.
Sir, what happens to the mind that's not occupied? Look, sir, you're not answering my question because you're dealing with ideas, not with reality. Not with actuality, which says, I've explored, I've gone into this thing. What happens to a mind that's occupied? What happens to a mind, to a life that's occupied with pain, pleasure, with success, with boredom, with loneliness, with problems? It is not occupied with problems. Is it an empty life? If it is not occupied with pain, pleasure, with your gods and all the rest of it, is it a deteriorating life? Don't say, no, you don't know about it. You're just indulging in words. Therefore, when the mind is not occupied, is that an empty mind? A dull mind? A deteriorating mind? Find out. Test it to yourself. Put it to test. Say, look, I'm occupied with what? Money, or sex, or pleasure. If you're not occupied, what happens with money? Then it picks up another occupation, doesn't it? And say, no, I won't. Find out, never to be occupied. What takes place? Oh, no. What's up? It's filled with love. Who fills it? Do you know, sir, or ladies? Somebody wrote me a letter the other day saying when I talk about sir, I'm only concerned with man. And therefore I'm not a feminist. And I must be little odd, because I'm always referring to man. Yeah. So crazy the world is, isn't it? Look, sir, or lady, my life, your life, one's life has been occupied with the kitchen, with the furniture, with the husband, with sex, with children, earning a livelihood, pain, pleasure, anxiety, dread, disappointment, hurt. That's occupation. You have never said to yourself, all right, I know it's occupied. What happens if I'm not occupied? About anything.
Non lo so perché non sono mai stato in quello stato.
Ecco. He says, I don't know because I've never thought about it. Why haven't you? So, you are occupied and you die being occupied. And that's all you call living. Therefore, dying and living is occupation. You never say, all right, I know I'm occupied. I'll find out what it means not to be occupied. You're occupied because occupation is one of the activities of the mind, which is the me. Right? I'm occupied with my God. I'm occupied with my state, with all the rest of it. That occupation is a form of identification of myself with that. And that gives me the feeling that I'm alive. The me is fully active. Now I see, I've looked at it, and I've seen what a terrible thing occupation is. Right? I've seen it, not just verbalized it. Therefore, what happens to a mind that's not occupied What's up? I don't know. What happens to a mind that's not occupied? Lovely day, isn't it? Perhaps something beautiful. Something new. Just words. So I'm hungry, and you give me words to eat. So I don't want your words. I want food. You're not hungry, therefore you're filling your hunger with words. I want to find out what happens to a mind that's not occupied. Ever, not just one occupation, no occupation. I give it up. I want to share this with you because it's only sharing together we discover. But you don't share. You're already full of ideas, therefore you have nothing to share. If you're somewhat inquiring, somewhat empty, somewhat searching, then you would share. But you're not, unfortunately. Therefore you are throwing out words, words, words. So I ask myself, what is a mind that is occupied? What happens to it if it is not? What, sir?
You can cut off occupation, but where is the left?
I did not say cut off occupation. You see how you have translated it? It's so hope.
So you're stuck with it there. Still.
Yeah, it's a hope. So, I very carefully went into all this. I'm not going to go over it again for your inattendance.
Non-occupied mind is aware and receptive. It is satisfied with what is.
What happens to a mind that has inquired into life, the living which has been so occupied from morning till night, and at night dreaming, and the interpretation of those dreams? It has been occupied endlessly. There is never a moment of non-occupation. And it is also occupied with death. What will happen? And therefore there is never a moment of non-occupation. So, the inquiry is, what happens when the mind is not occupied at all? What takes place? Is it emptiness? That emptiness, is it degenerating? Is it emptiness at all? Or there is only observation and nothing else? And that observation is not the occupation of the observer occupied with the observed, observing. What is there? If there is only observation, then what takes place? What is there to observe? The trees, you, me. What is there to observe? Is there anything to observe? Or only there is absolute nothing? And that is the fear of everybody, to be absolutely nothing. And because you want to be everything, you are occupied with everything. And all your problems arise from that. The total of not being, nothing. Now, if you have gone into it with the speaker and shared it, then you will see that life and love and death are the same thing. And the understanding of it is the understanding of that extraordinary thing called life, the living. Not this living, but living entirely differently. Living without occupation. Therefore, no conflict. And a mind that is not in conflict is free from death. Right. Che ora?
Mezzogiorno.
That's enough for this morning. I have talked as usual. So what shall we talk about tomorrow morning, the last time? Discuss. Dialogue. Huh? Education. He doesn't want to, somebody suggests education and another says no, please. Look, you are being educated now. You don't have to talk about education. Talk about?
Laughter.
Huh?
He says laughter.
Let us talk about laughter.